Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original presented by Perplexity. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We gonna do a big old I told you so about Myles Garrett in just a little bit, but I gotta be honest with you. I did not realize the NFL free agency was starting this week because generally speaking, I don't find NFL free agency to be but so interesting. The reason is very simple. Nobody that's really good becomes a free agent in the NFL. That's just not really how it goes. Cats get re-signed. We're going to talk more about that with the Myles Garrett situation. But like the salad days of NBA free agency, which really like 15 years ago, but you could even take it back almost 30 to when Shaq went to Los Angeles. Like NBA free agency normally get it cracking. NFL free agency is like, yeah, I guess. I have to say, though, that I was getting ready to do this show, and Sean sent me some texts about transactions that had taken place. And Sean, I have to tell you, I had no idea any of that shit had happened. And when you sent it to me, I was like, oh, hey, look at the NFL.
Yeah, I feel like, everyone knows what day NFL free agency is, but NBA free agency has such a more like specific time in my brain where I know like, oh, like 4th of July weekend, I know I can expect this stuff. The NFL free agency always sneaks up on me. So when like these things happen, I'm like, oh shoot, like Devontae Adams is on another team. DK Metcalf's on another team. What the heck?
Well, what is I'm saying? Let me tell you how this progressed for me, right? And that'll get to my overarching theme, which is an I told you so from, I believe, last Monday's show. But you sent me a text. It said a couple topics for tomorrow. Myles Garrett contract, Geno Smith. Apparently the Steelers want Darnold. I had no idea what was going on with Geno Smith. I was afraid he got arrested. I go to log on to the website to find out what is taking place, and I find out that DK Metcalf has been traded, and then I see that Geno Smith has been traded to the Raiders. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then you tell me this thing about the Steelers possibly wanting Sam Darnold, but I am inclined to believe that Sam Darnold is going to go to Seattle. I think that makes a little bit more sense in this situation. But then, Sean, I'm watching TV this morning, and they try to tell me on ESPN that Aaron Rodgers is the option for the Steelers, who just traded for DK Metcalf. They got him from Seattle. That's how that all comes together. And I have to say, that was a collection of what?
That the Rodgers Steelers one this morning was one I woke up to, and you mentioned it once we hopped on. It's like, this is the sleepiest Monday of the year given the daylight savings. And I woke up being like, I think I'm dreaming. Like Rodgers to Steelers? Tomlin with Tomlin? Like that's the weirdest sentence I've ever seen.
Okay, so I'm going to get to all of this, right? I'm going to do a kind of, you know how I get down. I'm going to try to get point by point point in this, right? Now, my I told you so from last week, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple. It's not a giant I told you so. It's just an illustration of a point that I tried to make to you last week. And that point that I tried to make last week was, if you do not have a quarterback that just stays on your back like humidity, it's just right there, it's just sweaty, you're nervous all the time, and you just got to get that off your plate and figure out, what are we going to do about a quarterback? That appears to be what the Raiders said, right? Now, the Raiders have the number 6 pick in the draft. I think it is reasonable to presume that if the Raiders wanted Shedeur Sanders, they could get him with the number 6 pick in the draft. I think it looks clear to me that is not what they want to do. So Pete Carroll did what is very often the case that people do, especially old people. Who's somebody at my old job that I think could potentially do this job? And the person at his old job was Geno Smith, who might be literally the most accurate quarterback in the NFL right now. The Raiders got him for a 3rd-round pick. This is not a move for the future, okay? This is not a quarterback that makes them great given everything else they do or do not have, but it is a quarterback. He is a mid-tier starter in the NFL at this point. I saw something on ESPN that said that Geno Smith was 13 in total QBR, which is their catch-all stat, not the quarterback rating that you grew up with the whole time, the one that goes up to 158 or whatever. Not that one. The one that Aaron Schatz and those guys helped come up with for ESPN's proprietary stat. Anyway, it's not a bad one. I don't fully subscribe to it, but it's a pretty decent catch-all. Geno Smith was number 13. For what it's worth, number 12 was Matthew Stafford. So, like, he is a good quarterback. I don't think that anybody can make the argument that he is not a good quarterback. But he ain't good enough to make you better than you actually are, at least from what I could tell. The Raiders kind of need a quarterback that makes you better than you actually are. That is the best argument against taking Shedeur Sanders, because even if you think that he's a guy worth taking in the first round, he's not a guy that's going to make you better than you are, right? You're going to probably hope that he comes in and just turns out to be a guy who executes for you. Geno's not going to make you better than you are, but he's better than whatever they was doing before. One less thing for them to think about. Okay. Now, he has left the Seahawks, who made that trade, and my immediate thought was, well, now y'all ain't got no quarterback, and all you got back was a third-round pick. The story that everybody had been telling was that they wanted to bring Geno back, right? They did not. Now, something else I saw that is very, very interesting. Sean, think about this for a second. I have talked for a long time about there being a lost generation of quarterbacks.
Yep.
Which was basically between like when Aaron Rodgers was drafted and like it really comes into the mid-teens of, this new century. We kind of like there were guys. I don't want like there were zero quarterbacks that were there, but there was a generation where this kind of got a little sketchy and there weren't that many, forget about great, just like very good quarterbacks who came around. Try this. Outside of Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith at 34 years old is the oldest quarterback that we are certain will be starting in the NFL next year. At 34.
It's insane. That's like, that used to be the like peak age median for quarterbacks at a certain point,
Tom Brady had 10 more years to go.
Crazy.
At 34, right? Like all those guys, and look, some of those are just exceptional players. Like Drew Brees is an exceptional player, Ben Roethlisberger, whatever it is. But they're none of those guys over 34. They're not there. So, but to me, that leads to an interesting discussion to have, because a guy like Geno Smith is, I think we call him a bridge starter, right? Like, I think it's fair to say that he's a bridge guy. He's going to hold it down for us until we come up with something better. That's part of why I look at Seattle like you guys played this all wrong, because it looks like he's a bridge to Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, we just saw this last year. Sam Darnold is a bridge to what's ever next. Y'all just got a bridge for a bridge. Y'all just stretched the bridge out even farther.
And like, to your point, if you look at this list, I'm going to put it up. This is the list of best free agents still available in the NFL, and all these quarterbacks seem, to your point, like bridges. Darnold, Fields, Wilson, Winston, Mac Jones, Garoppolo, Carson Wentz. Yikes.
I will say this right fast, and that is from Perplexity. Some of those look like bridges. The only one right there that truly to me looks like a bridge is Sam Darnold. The rest of them boys look like trap doors. Like you put your foot on Justin Fields, you might wind up in the drink, baby. Like the rest of them cats, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. Oh my goodness, Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is not a bridge. I can't even think of what exactly Jameis Winston is, because there's nothing that really applies. Like, is there some kind of bridge where it like opens and shuts?
It's the trap door actually is the perfect thing. It looks like a bridge and then you fall right through.
Jameis Winston, you know what Jameis Winston is? Jameis Winston is like the shit on American Gladiators where you got to run up the down treadmill. Like, you can do it, but he's going to make it a lot harder for you than it has to be. Like, you look at it, you're like, oh, I can run up, and then next thing you know, that thing is going down, and you try to go up.
And it's not going to look good at all. You're going to look foolish the whole time.
No, you're going to look foolish. He's going to do something foolish. And look, he's leaned all the way in on, like, and you saw this at the Super Bowl. I saw some people, one of whom is a name I don't say in public, who had compared Jameis to CJ Memphis from A Soldier Story or A Soldier Play. And if you haven't seen it, this reference won't mean anything, but that is not something I would want somebody to say about me. And then I looked up at the Super Bowl and I was like, damn, he right. And that's not, that's not really what you need. But Seattle doesn't seem to have a quarterback. So I think they're going to bring in Sam Darnold. And that raises a question for me. Like, if Tyler Lockett, you just got rid of him and he just left. You just got rid of DK Metcalf. You do have Jackson Smith and Jigba, but that's all you gonna give Sam Darnold? Is there something I'm missing here? Because if Sam Darnold got to do it by himself, Sam Darnold does not have the mental constitution for that sort of thing. Sam Darnold looked really good throwing to the best wide receiver in the NFL until you needed him, and then he looked like, what he looked like? What's it called? Sam Darnold. He looked like the same Sam Darnold he had been the entire time. That is what that looked like. That is what they did, but that is what you do when you need a quarterback. And now the Steelers have DK Metcalf, but they also still need a quarterback, and you hear them talk about bringing in Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers had just good enough stats for you to think he's not cooked. And I would make the argument that was also the case last year about Russell Wilson. He had good enough stats for you to think that he wasn't cooked. And maybe you don't think that Russell looked like he was cooked last year, but he was not cooking. When they would talk about let Russ cook, you remember that? When they used to talk about let Russ cook, they was talking about Russ like with the puffy hat on. However, you talk about let Russ cook, it looked like he was in the pan. Like, I think that might have gone a little bit too long, fellas. Like, we might need to chill out.
And the only reason why it looked slightly better than Rodgers is because the Steelers were winning. They were winning a lot of games, and everyone was like, he's a pick, he's a sack here, a fumble, but he's still winning.
Yes. Now, I'm going to make this point to the Steelers right now. Y'all need to listen to me close, and I imagine they have probably already thought about this. The Steelers made the trade, and they got DK Metcalf, and they gave him a 5-year contract extension worth $150 million. I have not looked at what the guarantee. Sean, can you look that up on Perplexity, what the guaranteed amount is on that contract? But they made that trade, and everybody, we all got the same things to say about DK Metcalf. Big, strong, fast. Very big, very strong, very fast. He is big on all those levels. Okay, cool. He comes in, he becomes your number one wide receiver in Pittsburgh. Okay. You have another receiver there now named George Pickens. And I believe George Pickens is going into year 4, which is to say George Pickens is going into the time where George Pickens is probably going to want his money, and you just gave that money to somebody else. Sean, do we have an answer for how much money they gave him?
Yeah, 5-year, $150 million contract with the Steelers.
Okay, no guarantee. We don't have that yet. Yeah. So we're looking. So they gave him to 5 years. They gave him to $150. If you think George Pickens does not want his money, you are bonkers. And if you think that George Pickens is a guy to trust a whole season without getting his money, you are a different person than me. Again, the George Pickens who, after interceptions, rather than tackle the ball carrier, tries to tackle the man that he was covering, or that was covering him, or that has come around. That's George Pickens. Sean, we got something.
So it says his previous contract with the Seahawks had $58.2 million in guarantees. The details of the guarantees aren't available yet, but it averages $30 million annually. So I assume within the $150 million contract, it might be a little bit higher than $58.2 million guaranteed, which you have with Seattle.
Got you. Let me tell you this right now. If you think that George Pickens is not ready for his money right now, again, you have more faith in George Pickens being reasonable than I think that he has any business receiving. Y'all better put a stamp on him and send him wherever somebody will take him. Put him on your porch with a blanket on him and a jar where you say, shit, give what you can. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think you want to play this game. I don't know what exactly happens when you bring Aaron Rodgers in, because he wasn't terrible. He really wasn't. But I do think it's probably better to bring Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh than it is to bring him anywhere else, because they got such a strong and dominant culture that goes even bigger than the coach, that at the very least they could get him to not be ridiculous in front of everybody. Right? Like maybe that's what their thought is, that's the game that they're going to play. Arthur Smith is still running their offense, if I'm not mistaken, which means they're probably going to run the ball a lot, but they're not really that good at running the ball, so I don't know how any of that goes. But I do know this. If you decide, hey, let's get Sam Darnold, or you decide, hey, let's get Aaron Rodgers, what does that do? That gets your whole we need a quarterback thing off your plate. One less thing for you to think about. And like I told you, that's really all these teams is trying to do. Worry about something else. All right, we got one more I told you so to get here right here, and this is about Myles Garrett, right? Myles Garrett just signed a contract with the Cleveland Browns, a big giant extension. Sean, I think I saw it was for like 100-something guaranteed.
Yeah, it was a ton of money. I'll get the full details for you.
Yes. Now, let me tell you this about Myles Garrett. I think we have talked about this before. Myles Garrett, from what people tell me, is a very good basketball player. Myles Garrett's brother is a gentleman named Sean Williams who played in the NFL for a little bit. He played college ball at Boston College. Like, he was a headband guy. If you were around for the headband era, he had a lot about his whole situation that was quite emblematic of the headband era of basketball. Anyway, Myles Garrett requested a trade. And I think in the NFL, it's important to make this distinction. In the NBA, I think you can demand a trade. In the NFL, all you can really do is act nice. That's it. You can kindly say, hey, guys, I think you ought to trade me. And if they already want to trade you, they'll go ahead and do it. In the NBA, they're more likely to trade you just because you yourself wish to be traded. It's a whole different world. Myles Garrett asked for that trade, and the Browns wasn't even taking people's phone calls. They was telling everybody, we're not even going to do this, okay? Myles Garrett asked to meet with the owner, and the owner told him, go talk to the general manager. Not too long after that, Myles Garrett signed this giant contract. Sean, we got something on that?
Yeah, the full contract is a 4-year agreement worth $160 million with an average of $140. The contract includes $123.5 million in guaranteed money, but it also has a no trade clause ensuring Garrett remains with the Browns through the 2030 season.
Well, hold on. But he can still waive it if he so chooses.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Like,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Still funny that it's there after everything that's gone on.
Yes, I don't want to play for these losers. All of this stuff, and then he locked in and turned everything around. Why? Because there was no way that they were ever going to trade him. And you know why they were never going to trade him? Sean, can you look up on Perplexity the greatest Cleveland Browns of all time?
Yeah, I got it
because
right
I got to stick. Oh, we got it right here. Who are the top 5?
They go Jim Brown, Otto Graham, Joe Thomas, Lou Groza, Ozzie Newsome.
Okay, so I am inclined to believe that Myles Garrett is better than Ozzie Newsome and Joe Thomas, which is to say, I believe that Myles Garrett is the best Cleveland Brown since Jim Brown retired. Okay? Jim Brown retired so that they could film The Dirty Dozen. That's how long ago that was. Okay? That is when Jim Brown retired. Hell no. They were not going to trade him under any circumstance whatsoever. And all that talk he had about wanting to go somewhere to win, you wanted to go somewhere and win, but instead you stayed in Cleveland. You know why he stayed in Cleveland? Perplexity told you why he stayed in Cleveland. $123 million guaranteed. That's why he stayed in Cleveland. Because this is the thing that makes the NFL in some ways better than the NBA when it comes to that paper. In the NBA, they can't money whip you like this. All right? In the NBA, there's a maximum salary that they can pay. And what has happened as a result of that in the NBA is cats will go places and take less money because they prefer the situation. Now, part of that is because they make more money, but of course, a significant part of that is they make easier money. I am not saying that playing in the NBA is easy. I am saying that in the NFL, there is no such thing as easy money. There is not a single player in the NFL that I will ever call overpaid. And you know why there's not a single player in the NFL that I will ever call overpaid? Because you couldn't pay me enough to play football. That's why. There's no dollar amount that you could throw out there and be like, hey, Bo, go hold the ball, go block. Hell no, I ain't doing none of that. You tell me somebody getting paid $150 million in the NFL sound like the right place to me, because I wouldn't play that shit for 151. That's why. What are you, high? Ain't no way in the world, right? So they money whipped Myles Garrett, and they gave him that $123 million. I bet you that boy Max Crosby thought he was the man. Max Crosby got that 3-year, $100-something million contract extension. It was like the highest for a non-quarterback, even though I didn't recall seeing anything about the guarantee structure, which tells me that it is not very likely that it looked the exact way it did. That Myles Garrett contract had more guaranteed money than the Max Crosby contract had altogether. Okay? And the biggest winner, Micah Parsons. Because all of a sudden, the market has been set. Now, do I think that Micah Parsons is a better player than Myles Garrett? I don't know. There are arguments in both directions. Is Micah Parsons 4 years younger than Myles Garrett? At the very least, he came into the draft 4 years later. Jerry be waiting so long to pay these dudes, and it goes the exact same way. Like, this how you know Jerry's super rich, right? Like, the more money you get, you do stuff like buy plane tickets 3 days before. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, oh, man, it costs a little bit more money. Yeah, it costs a little bit more money, but all of a sudden I want to go. And not just that you buy it 3 days before, you wait till 3 days before because you waiting for something else. You try to see something else, whatever it is, right? Like, yeah, that's what you do when you got paper. And that's what Jerry do. Jerry stay buying these plane tickets on these dudes 45 minutes before the plane leave. He did this with Dak. He did this with CeeDee Lamb. And now he doing this with Micah Parsons. And it's going to cost him so much money. It is going to cost him so much money.
Yeah, Bo, I got the highest non-quarterback contracts by average annual salary. Myles Garrett, 40. Like you said, Max Crosby, 35.5.
Yeah.
This is the non-guaranteed, though, that's great. Is Myles at 122, Bosa at 122, Justin Jefferson at 110, CeeDee Lamb at $100 million, already guaranteed.
That's what I'm telling you, dog. That's what I'm telling you. Micah Parsons is about to be number one with a bullet. Like, that's the direction that this is going to go for the Cowboys. What are y'all doing? That's all I'm asking. What are y'all doing? I want to holler at the chat right fast. If a guys are saying you're not feeling the AI tie-in, I understand where you're coming from, but I need you to understand something right now, fellas. It is the free agent season. Free agency started at noon Eastern time, the beginning of our show. Everything is fluid right now. We ain't got no breaking news team, so we are using the tools we got to let you know the information that we could provide you to make this free agency coverage as robust as possible, to go along with the fact that, you see it up there in the corner. You dig? You feel me? You see? But no.
Also, for the record, we woke up and Twitter was down. So we're,
Yes, that was the next part. That was the next part I was going to make.
It's tough to work with this.
We got limited tools, but I do want to say this sincerely because I think you're making a fair point, especially given some of the things that I've said about the futuristic type of technology that we are using. We are only going to use this in ways that are helpful to the show. And for right now, these are things that are helpful to the show. These are things that ordinarily I would just tell Sean to go do it and he would come back and bring it. He just wouldn't tell you where it came from. But now this is where we're going. But I don't want you guys to feel like I don't understand where it is that you're coming from. You're entitled to your preferences. I am also going to tell you to shut your ass up about it for right now, because today this is the explanation. This is what it's going to be. Have some faith in your boy. You dig? Have some faith in your boy. Anyway, Micah Parsons' agent just started looking at a whole new boat. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I can look at the bigger boat. All right, we got this in that Adam Schefter reports that Justin Fields will not sign with the Steelers unless they commit to him being quarterback one. I think that is a fair point for Justin Fields to make. I need Justin Fields to understand this, though. Any team that commits to him being QB1 is not a team that I would want to play for, personally. Now, I know it's a little bit different if you're Justin Fields because you trying to do what it takes to get you back to that place it is. That is fine. But any team that makes Justin Fields their starting quarterback, them boys gonna do some losing. Everybody needs to get the grip and hold on to that right now. Y'all gonna be out here doing some losing. That's what's gonna happen. But Sean, I'm worried about this though with Myles Garrett. You brought this up where he wanted to go somewhere where he could win. I don't think that there's gonna be winning that takes place for him with the Browns. And Look, ain't nobody gonna weep for you when you get your $123 million. He can't explain this any other way other than they gave me a boatload of money. You can't do that. All right. I'm gonna just say this though. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's even funnier when the summary for why Myles Garrett wanted a trade request was his desire to win a Super Bowl, and then he's back with the Browns.
Yeah, but I'm gonna make this point, and I think I've maybe said this on this show before, but I say it in other times, and I think it's something that people need to understand. Right? Nobody's gonna weep for you for getting $100 million to do something, right? But if I offered you $123 million to let me kick you in the nuts, you'll take that money, right? I'll take that money. But you know what it's going to feel like after I kick you in the nuts? It's going to feel like you got kicked in the nuts. It's not going to feel like you got $123 million. It's going to feel like you got kicked in the nuts. So whatever he did not like about playing with the Cleveland Browns, all he's getting in return for that is $123 million, which is to say none of the other stuff is going to change. You're just getting $123 million. You're going to be miserable, and you're going to ask for another trade. And the next time, they're not going to give you the money. You're just going to play for the Browns. This episode is presented by Perplexity. Perplexity is an AI-powered answer engine that searches the internet in real time to deliver fast, clear, high-quality answers. Unlike legacy search engines that respond with a list of links, Perplexity skips straight to the answers you need, explained in everyday language that's easy to understand with sources and citations. All right, now, Sean, how do you use Perplexity, especially when it comes to the right time?
You know, I plan on using it all throughout the show, especially when you need questions answered or stats confirmed. But, say you're curious about a specific topic from our If You Haven't Heard segment, for example, the growing cost of eggs. I can simply ask Perplexity, what is the percentage increase on the price of eggs in 2025? And it'll give you a detailed answer in seconds, complete with links to the latest sources so you can easily verify information or dive deeper. And by the way, the current answer as of today is 22% since the beginning of the year, with the potential for a 41% increase by the end of the year.
Well, that's not ideal, but incredible that we got to answer so quickly. Discover faster, more reliable search with Perplexity today. Download the app or ask Perplexity anything at perplexity.com. Shout out to Dash Pass and their members-only deal for the 24-25 NBA season. They swoosh, you save. When any player scores 50 or more points in a game, Dash Pass members save 50% on an order up to $10 off. Sign up for Dash Pass and save more all year round with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees on eligible orders, plus exclusive perks like this one. Use the promo code NBA50 the day after the 50-point game during the 24-25 NBA regular season from noon to midnight. Valid for Dash Pass members only from noon to midnight the day after any player scores 50 points or more in a single game during the 24-25 regular season.
That's right. As a reminder, the offer is live at noon to midnight the day after the game, and that is exclusive to Dash Pass members. 50% off one order, up to $10 off. Offer valid from 9 a.m. Pacific time through 11:59 p.m. Pacific time after a 50-point performance in any game during the NBA season on orders placed at participating merchant locations. Valid only in the United States. Maximum value of discount is $10. Discount applies to subtotal only. Does not apply to fees, taxes, and gratuity. Not valid for pickup. Limit one per person. Not valid for the purchase of alcohol. Fees, taxes, and gratuity still apply. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Use promo code NBA50 to redeem.
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. No need for the social media feeds. We got you. Now, if you haven't heard.
All right, Bo, here's our first one of the day.
Hi, I'm Noah Sheidlower. I'm a reporter with Business Insider, and with my colleague Jacob Zinkua, we wrote a story about older Americans who are struggling to land the one last job that they need before they hit retirement. Essentially, we're looking at people who are in the 60 to 65 range who have recently lost their jobs or resigned from a position who are struggling right now to find another job to have right before hitting retirement. So we spoke with one man who was a sales representative for a company who resigns just because of the stress of the job. And he said that he hasn't found anything in a couple of years that matches what he previously held. So he's been working all sorts of part-time jobs and is hoping to get back into the white-collar workforce. That we have another person that we spoke to who's 67, and he said he technically could retire, but he doesn't want to because he is not in a super financially stable position. And after a layoff in January, he said that he really hasn't gotten anywhere with job interviews. So this is a topic that we have been looking into and speaking with a lot of older Americans about who don't know exactly when to retire or know exactly how much that they need and feel that they need another job in order to retire in a secure fashion. The issue is that we've also heard from many older Americans, a few dozen have told us over the last couple of months that they have faced, that they've directly faced ageism in the workforce or have seen it. A lot of people are saying that they've had in interviews where they were told pretty explicitly that they were too old for the job or that they were going with a younger candidate. So this is definitely an issue that a lot of people in their 60s are facing.
So I thought this was interesting, the kind of ageism part. I certainly found to be interesting, but I want to throw this out here for people where I don't know how many of you have ever done, I don't even necessarily need to call it a long stretch, but a notable stretch of unemployment in your life, like a stretch of time where you did not have paychecks coming in, or even a stretch of time where you have decided to do something decidedly un-American and take some sort of leave of absence from your job, right? Where you just have all the time in the world to do whatever you want. I don't know if people fully understand this. This is going to seem very obvious on its face, but at the same time, I think is something that I don't think that people fully grasp, okay? The only thing in this country that does not cost you money to do is go to work. That is it. If you are not at work, everything else you are going to do is cost money. Even if you are just at your house sitting on your keister, that electricity that you are using to do all the things that you do while sitting on your keister costs money. Everything costs money. So every time somebody talks about what they want to do, I just want to retire and then I want to travel. How exactly are you going to do this? Because everything costs money. Like, you can't travel all the time. Sean, you know I've looked this up, right? Yep. What if I quit my job and just travel all the time? Oh, you might need a stack. You might be able to do that for a year, maybe two, but there are limitations to how much of that you could do.
And, you know, I got people in my life, like my in-laws, like they're both technically retired, but my father-in-law is a doctor and he's like, why wouldn't I work 2 to 3 days a week part-time? Because he's like, I still want to travel. I still want to go these places. And he's like, my money's only getting drained if I'm not working. You know, there's only a surplus. No matter how much pension, no matter how much you saved. And, you know, it's clear that, like, in this article, some people are doing Uber for 35 hours a week as in their retirement just to have some spending money. Because, like you said, things are getting more expensive and you can't step out the door without spending money these days.
Yeah, and you got to pay tax on your own money. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
When they pay it out. Now, somebody here, Jets fan 051, which is basically just saying loser 051. He says it costs money to go to work. Duh, yeah, we know, gas. You get my point. After you get there, you get paid to go to work, right? Everything else, you're not getting money after you get there. It's not happening, right? So I get it where people are trying to hit for that one last lick before they can go in. The other part too, man, ain't no telling how long you gonna live these days, baby. You need to get that stack. No telling how long you gonna live. And B, I don't know if you guys have been watching the news, but things look and feel a little fraught. Is that the term? Fraught?
Very fair. Almost an understatement.
Yeah. Yeah, low fraud. Like, you just need to do what you can, while you can, when you can. There you go. Shout out to the old folks. I don't even blame you.
Don't blame them at all. Here's our next one.
Hello, my name is Clay Risen, and I am the author of the book Red Scare, Blacklists, McCarthyism, and the Making of Modern America. I recently wrote an article in The Atlantic entitled When America Persecutes Its Teachers, which looked back at the era of anti-communist hysteria in the 1940s and 50s and its impact on the country's education system. The Red Scare was more than just a period of heightened tension to communist subversion. It was also a time in which all sorts of progressive ideas became suspect, and the people who held them were harassed, interrogated, threatened, and fired. Especially in big cities, teachers were indeed a progressive bunch. A few had become communists in the 1930s. A handful still were. And for a while, they had been able to bring their ideas to the classroom. Not communism itself, but ideas that communists shared with the broader left about civil rights, women's rights, and foreign affairs. When the culture turned against those ideas, teachers were among the biggest targets. Today, we can hear echoes of the Red Scare campaign against teachers and the Trump administration's orders to end diversity programs in education. Several states, most notably Florida, have ordered schools and colleges to restrict or eliminate courses on topics like gender, while groups such as Moms for Liberty have rallied parents to police curricula and ban books from school libraries. Ideological battles over education may be proxies for larger conflicts: communism in the 40s and 50s, diversity, equity, and inclusion today. But such fights are particularly fierce because of how important schools are in shaping American values. To control the country's education system is, in no uncertain terms, to control the country's future.
So here's what I found so fascinating about this story, right? And shout out to Clay. That's how you do your shout out. This article was in The Atlantic, but he's like, I wrote a book.
Love it.
Yes, yeah. Wait, no shade, big dog. I see you. I respect the gang. When they were calling people communists in the 40s and 50s, there were actual communists still running around. There really aren't that many of them, right? Like, I remember I was in graduate school, it was about 25 years ago, and a professor who himself was definitely not a leftist of any stretch, he made a joke about it. He was like, yeah, if you still got a Marxist around, it's like you got him as a museum piece. But there were a lot more people who had far more radical ideas in schools and in the academy then than there are now. Yet, what ideas that I think are actually fairly anodyne are being treated like communism felt back in the day. Like, now that's just social, that's just stuff they say by and large. But like that's not it. There is a radical left that still exists in this country. Don't get me wrong, but they not really teaching that many classes. Like, they're not really teaching in that many schools. That's not how it works. But the treatment is the same. Like, just the idea of acknowledging concepts is what is getting this. Not even necessarily the advancement of some radical overtaking or overhaul of the society as it exists currently. Like, that's where we are, and that is, just a little bit dicey.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like being a teacher in today's climate, regardless of what city you're in. But like, say a city in like Florida, where like stuff is really being like taking off the bookshelves, and you're forced to teach not facts almost.
Well, they're afraid, where you are afraid of what you can and cannot say. Just terrified of what might happen. Like, not even I might do it one time and see what goes on from there. No, can't even give them an inch. No.
It's insane. All right, here's our last one, Bo.
Hey there. I'm Nicholas Lalla, and I'm the author of the book Reinventing the Heartland, which HarperCollins just released. My day job is an urbanist. I work at the intersection of emerging technology and economic development, which means that I partner with cities to harness tech and innovation to create good jobs. I'm honored that The Right Time reached out to me to learn more about the book, so let me give you a quick overview. Look, every city in America wants to become a tech hub, yet so few succeed, and that's the problem. Big coastal cities dominate the U.S. innovation system. Tech jobs, venture capital, and R&D are concentrated in San Francisco and New York, leaving the broad middle of the country out. This alienation causes political polarization, exacerbates inequality, and hinders America's global competitiveness. To thrive in the 21st century, mid-sized cities across the heartland must build innovation economies of their own. The middle matters, and heartland cities need to reinvent themselves for the innovation age. Reinventing the Heartland, How One City's Inclusive Approach to Innovation and Growth Can Revive the American Dream, offers a bold and pragmatic plan to confront one of society's defining challenges, harnessing the tech industry to catalyze inclusive growth in places disconnected from today's innovation economy. In 2020, I founded Tulsa Innovation Labs to build Northeast Oklahoma's tech economy from scratch. The organization, backed by the multi-billion-dollar George Kaiser Family Foundation, would go on to raise over $200 million, create thousands of tech jobs in Tulsa, and kickstart a citywide effort of reinvention. This work marks the first time in American history a city has dedicated itself in such a concerted way to transforming itself into a tech hub. Tulsa is an imperfect yet inspiring model, and the effort underway is full of rich learnings, from the city's oil legacy to the centennial of the Tulsa Race Massacre to the role of indigenous tribes and billionaire philanthropists. Tulsa makes for a fascinating case study. Drawing on my personal experience, I establish an action plan for reinvention that other cities can adapt and adopt. Reinventing the Heartland reveals that urban reinvention requires growth from within, rooted in local assets, shaped by the community's dreams, and propelled by strategic investments from the public, private, and social sectors. If this sounds interesting to you, check out the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or your local independent bookstore, and follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Sean, we had some hustlers out here. You know, they out here getting it.
You know, and a credit to them for both, you know, shouting out the fact that we, you know, requested these articles. Like, I'll put the links for their books on the YouTube deck, but I mean, both very fascinating book topics.
Yeah, it takes a certain ambition to be Tulsa, Oklahoma, and to say we're going to be that spot.
Totally.
Right? Like, you have to believe so fervently in your model. Because, look, once you say Tulsa, the response is going to be Tulsa. Right? And then you have to follow it up. Like, I got my homie Jay Long. He's worked in Tulsa for a little while, working there. And he's been telling me at times about these different things they had going. And I'm going to be honest with you. My skepticism was palpable, you know? But no, like I said, actually, now that I think about it, I shouldn't be like this. The homie RJ Young, he's there in Tulsa. My friend Crystal Echo Hawk does a lot of work with the native population. Tulsa, hey man, we out here at the right time got holding Tulsa down.
Yeah, and like, shout out to them. You know, I have this search up. You know, what cities have in the U.S. have the most tech jobs, and it's the obvious, right? New York, D.C., San Jose, San Francisco, Seattle, Austin, and Georgia. And then I followed up with what cities have the highest living costs, and like, obviously they match, you know. And it's fascinating that if you were someone who lives in Tulsa, to have that kind of more affordable living while it's like becoming a budding tech community.
Yeah, I'd also make the argument that while the social life in Tulsa may not be the same as some of those other people,
Sure.
There's going to be a disproportionate number of dorks that are working in this world, and what that matter to them?
Exactly. All right, but we had a classic right time voicemail suggestion prompt. The time you've tried your parent and ultimately failed, and we got some really good suggestions, submissions. Here's our first one.
What's up, Bomani, Sean? This is Marcus out of KC. Calling at the time I tried my mom. Oh, first off, I want to say thanks. I was the last person on terrestrial radio to be on the Unblock Me Both segment, so I think it was like an eclipse going on or something. So anyway, the time I tried my mom's, I think I was about like 14, big dude, you know, about 180 pounds, thinking I was strong. My dad wasn't in the house at the time. They were separated. And she told me and my sister to do something. I think it was clean up. I just remember she had a broom and I said something smart. And like the next thing I knew, it was like she was in like one of them ESPN classic videos of the Black Widow playing pool. She lined up and boom, right in the midsection. Thankfully, it was like all stomach, didn't go low, but it was hard. And it knocked me over. And I remember gasping. And I just remember looking at her with horror, like, how could you do this to me? And she said something to the effect of, N-word, if you ever in your life think about trying me again, I will end you. something to that effect. And I think that was the last time I tried my mom. Until the day she left this earth, I said yes, ma'am, and did whatever she said because I did not want to feel that feeling again, especially as a grown man, because you can't be crying in front of your children. So anyway, love the show. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Hold up. What you mean you think that was the last time you tried your mom? You know good and goddamn well that was the last time you tried your mom. If you like, let me look back on it and see if I no. You knew right then and there that would never happen again, and it never did.
Should have never tried the mom in the first place. You know, it's just that's rule number one. You know.
No. I mean, look, I understand a lot of people get in the mom trying situation, and I see how like that could potentially happen and all of this stuff. And I guess maybe trying your mom is good to prepare you for later in life. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
To let you know what the women in your life might be capable of. Because you know, you're like, oh, she's just my dear sweet. Nah, homie.
nope.
Nah. Do you have any clue what she had to do to get here? I don't think you do.
All right, here's the next one.
Hey guys, this is David out of Greenville. So my story about when I tried my dad, this is a common thing for most kids, but you know, you want to try and buck up to dad and everything like that. Now let's be clear, I've never had a reason to want to fight my dad or get buck with him. I never really was disrespectful like that. Smart lip every once in a while, right? But one thing about my dad that a lot of dads can't say is my dad was a black belt in Taekwondo. Now let's be clear about something. Everybody daddy got some kind of story about how amazing they were when they were young. My dad was called Wild Oats. I'm going to say that again. His name was Wild Oats. Okay? This man has lived life. So when he says he was a black belt in Taekwondo, now you got to test it. Nothing serious, nothing crazy. I didn't disrespect my mama or anything like that. I was, you know, throwing little jabs at my dad and whoop, 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 come on, Pops, I got that. My dad did two things. He threw a spinning back kick that grazed my chin and stopped his fist an inch from my nose faster than I could blink. He was 45 or probably around 40, in his late 40s at the time because I was young. Yeah. I don't have no stories of fighting my dad, and that's why. Y'all be blessed.
I'm trying to, I definitely would not want to get kicked or to be punched. But that man showing me that he could do this with such precision that he could confidently just come that close and know he's not going to hurt me, but do it with wow.
That's scarier than anything. Like knowing the person has the power to end your life with a kick or a punch. Yikes.
Yeah, dang, yo. By the way, shout out to Buddy in the chat who said, being a boy raised by a single mom could be tough. You become the dad and don't even know, but still got to remember your role as the son. That is true. That is what it is. Like, that woman has decided she got to let you know what time it is. You dig?
Yeah, tough balance. I've been there, but I think it makes you a better person at the
end. You was wrong though, wasn't you?
100%. All right, here's our last one.
What up, Bo? This is DP out of Toledo. Been a fan for a long time, all the way back to when you was in Canada. Just calling in about the topic of the time you tried your mother or your father, and mine was the time I said the wrong thing to my mother. My mother is 5'2", 140 pounds, and worked in automotive factory making transmissions her whole life. I was about 18 or 19 years old, and she said something to me that I didn't like, and I fired back with what I knew at the time was the wrong thing. But, 18 or 19, I was smelling myself real good. And this woman grabbed me with one hand around my throat. And I had both of my hands on her arm, trying to get her arm off of me. And I couldn't. and it took my older brother to come up from behind her and grab her and say, Mama, you gonna kill him. You gonna kill him. She said, I know I'm gonna kill him. He ain't got no business talking to me that way. And like I said, that's when I realized this little 5'2", 140-pound woman was strong as all to be, working in that factory, building them transmissions. And that was the last time I said the wrong thing to my mama. Love the show, Bo. Keep up the good work. Talk to you soon.
Sean, he was 18 and 19 when this happened. He hadn't already learned that this woman who had been making the transmissions was not the one.
I mean, even just shaking her hand, you know, she's not one to mess with if she's working that job.
Look, these stories don't normally have when I was 18 and 19. They normally involve 14, 15, the occasional 16, right? Now, wow. Honestly, at 18, one thinks in a way that you may have graduated to a point where you now got the wherewithal where you could do nope.
You watch your mom for 18 years work a really hard job, and that's not enough for you to be like, maybe I shouldn't mess with her.
Nah. Do you have any clue what she had to do to get here? I don't think you do. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. Sean, you handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.